Well, hello from the Hashknife. We just weaned this little colt and noticed a horse that's got a injury on him. So now we got another project to do. Here he is right here. I can show you this injury and clean it up, and we'll monitor it, keep on working with him, and make sure we got no other health issues that is going to cause a problem for him. So I'll swat. You can notice he's walking well on it, not causing him any issue, but he's caught himself there. You can see that light spot on his hind quarter. There we go. And he'd like to get with that other gelding because they're buddies, sort of. But we will continue to keep you updated anyway, and hopefully it gets better. Well, this is one of those things that takes place that you never want to see, but it happens. And so now I've got Kalen holding the horse and Braden really irrigating a wound. It's like a little cut on this guy, and where you got to take some of the things that happen and realize what things do come out of it that are lucky. And one of them is it's a little bit lower on his, not high up on his hip, it's down below his hip bone. So this wound has been draining for probably a couple of days here. We haven't noticed it, and he's moving on it just fine, but it's kind of got some gunk in it. And the best thing we can do is stand here for about 10-15 minutes at this point and really irrigate this up and get all of that cleaned out. And a little bit higher pressure like this makes a lot of difference. It can really clean it up, kind of stop some of the inflammation a little bit. And believe it or not, it's just good well water we've got coming up out of the ground. It's cold today, but it is warming up, but it's going to be a little godsend for him. He's already felt like that, oh, this is not bad, because he's not, he's a little bit antsy wanting to move, but it's not hurting him at all. So, and not painful to the touch. There we go. You kind of see that wound is a little, not super deep, but it is underneath the hide. It's created a little bit of a hole there. So Braden's really spraying him down. We'll loosen this up and get some of this cake stuff off of there. I've seen much worse wounds than this, believe it or not. Stuff that you're like, oh God, I don't know if this horse is going to put up with this, but you know what? They're pretty resilient, and he knows we're just trying to help him out. So this irrigation will really clean it up. It'll help. We'll maybe give him a little bit of a antibiotic and make sure to give him a little immunity boost here, just because he probably doesn't need it, but we're going to do it anyway. And watch him. I'll take a curry comb maybe, and we'll clean some of this gunk off of him, because we don't want that to hold any type of blood and gunk on his hide. Hey, we're back with this pony that needs a little bit of care, and as promised, I told you we'd put a little antibiotic in him, and we're going to show that. What I've got here to start with is a big old needle, and this thing is huge. Put that up next to my face. That's about 1.5 inches. It's a 16 gauge needle. It's designed to go deep into their muscle. It's an intermuscular type of injection. So we're going to give him about 30 cc's of this in a couple of different spots, and we don't want to put too much in one area, so it makes him really sore. And then we may have to do this in about another 4 days, is what it is recommended on the usage. So we'll flop this camera around here and see what we can do. Get rid of my mug and get onto his. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to put this right down on his chest, which is a lot easier spot to go than putting it up on his neck. I like doing this here. It's a real deep muscle, and I can just kind of push on it, kind of let him know I'm going to do it, and then just slip it in, and he winches a little. I'm going to pull back on that and make sure there's no blood where I've hit an artery, and I'm just going to inject this. And this stuff probably hurts a little bit. It's pretty thick. And if you've ever had a shot with a thick antibiotic, that is no fun. I like to place it here though, because if this abscesses again, I can drop this out. I can kind of lance this if I had to. It got really big, but it will tend to drain much better than something up here on their neck. Their neck is still a really good spot to put this down here in this triangular area. I think Ashley showed you that on one video. But I like starting out here, putting it low, and this is just a lot tighter muscle area too. That neck muscle works a lot. These do too, but they're very soft muscle mass in here, and that can get inside of the bloodstream slowly over time, and see how we go. So, all right, we'll monitor him a little bit and clean him up tomorrow. Do a little bit more that way and see how it goes. All right, we've cleaned this up again. I wanted to show one thing to do, or what we like to do on this, is when it's actually pretty clean, that's just kind of some exposed tissue underneath of the hide. It's not super deep. But we've got some stuff. We were at a clinic at several years ago. This is called French green clay. And we can talk about this stuff, but it's it's made a lot of difference on some of the animals that we've put this on when we address wounds and wound care. And I'm going to kind of just shake it on here a little bit. He's a little bit tender on this hind end, as you can imagine. But let's see if we can just kind of throw some up in there. There we go. Kind of coat that inside. This is really a really good thing for production of new tissue, and keeps it from drying up, believe it or not, even if it's a powder. One of the biggest things we've found with it, in the summertime especially, is it keeps flies away of a wound, and which is one of your hardest things, the most difficult things on the animal for wound closure, is those darn flies. And this will repel flies. It's just amazing. I've actually spread this on backs of animals that have been, just for whatever reason, really super saturated with fly use or flies bugging them, and it will help keep those flies away. It's really some neat stuff. Anyway, we'll start dressing this a little bit more and see how he progresses again from here. So here's what this looks like. I've got some green clay. That's what this stuff is around it, that greenish look. And then it's still draining, which is a good thing. It looks bad, but that is not as horrible as you would hope. All this drainage here, this is clay here, that's drainage, and it's kind of thick, but it's he's had his combiotic, or his antibiotic, and we're just going to clean this up again and just keep doing the same thing, and it will heal from the inside out, and then he'll be good to go again.
Looks like a flap of skin coming out there.
Yeah, I cleaned that up, the edges of it, and it will heal together. In a way, it's a good thing. It's cool, but not cold out. Otherwise, that skin would really dry up, and then you have a larger bunch of skin and tissue that has to regenerate. So it's kind of if you're going to have this happen at a time, this is a decent time. See that skin see how it's starting to, I'll take this away. You see how there's maybe a little bit of blood in there starting to form? That's good. That means those capillaries are up there and healing this wound up. That gunk's just sticking to his hair right down here, and I was pulling some of that off. I'm not quite so worried about it. It just looks unsightly.
Well, it actually looks pretty darn good.
Looking really pretty darn good, is right. I mean, yeah. I mean, that doesn't look great. you're not used to stuff like this, but
Yeah.
it's healing quite nicely. I wish it wasn't draining like it was, but that's just the nature of the amount of time it takes for that to heal from the inside out. And we need that. We don't want this to heal on the outside and trap all of that pus and any infection that could be there that he's still fighting a little bit. You want that to not seal over, because then it just has to break open and then re-heal again. So this is looking very nice.
Good thing is you can see he's putting a lot of weight on it too.
He's putting all his weight on this leg, and the other one has got the weight off of it. So that's a very good sign. You can see him once in a while when he's moving. He kind of takes the pressure off of it. You know, just a slight limp. Let this water kind of loosen that up, and then I'll get my fingers in there and pull that off of the edges maybe. Oh yeah, he just knows that this is helping. And just when you think you've got everything caught up, kind of getting a handle on some time management and what to do with these animals, and something like this happens. Oh boy, good boy. Look at him chewing. It amazes me how much pain that an animal can take and really not show it. There we go. See some of that right in there where it's got a little blood with it.
Good boy.
Bleeding a little bit. That's what you want to do. This helps to open that up. This irrigation. You see a little bit of line of blood there on the edge. That's a good thing.
It's all still pretty solid.
Yeah, well, it's real slick for one. And I'm in the worst spot you could possibly get if you ever decided you didn't want to cooperate with it. I'm leaning into a nice, good, heavy tip. And we will put some of that green clay on here again. And just kind of seal it, help smoke. That stuff is amazing.
Just to go over it again, I'm not sure if we completely went over it. We think he probably was messing around next to a fence, maybe landed on the top of a post or something, and then got his leg caught in a little bit of wire, right?
Right.
Based off of how the wound is.
I think he was probably screwing around kicking at another horse, because
Yeah.
the height right here, a steel post being at that height is pretty low. So he
Right.
probably reared up or kicked up and then come down on it and then put his foot down through.
Yep. Right in there.
Down in here. So you scrape that, you got a little cut here,
back
you got
over.
to scrape on the cannon bone here a little bit. You see that?
That's not bad.
And no, not at all.
Just superficial.
Just superficial, but dork. Yeah. That's what happens when you screw around like this. And there were no other new horses out in that pasture, so it isn't like they were that he was putting a run on somebody or trying to establish dominance. It's probably just a natural, oh, you know what, I'm feeling like I might want to move up in the herd today, so I'm going to pick somebody out here. I think I can kind of put the shuck on them a little bit.
Good flap of skin there. It looks like it wants to come off.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I'm going to just keep working this down. Lay some of this down. See how that's really looking good. Yeah, this lower flap right there, that stuff, I'd like to kind of get that off. We will.
Well, no, it's probably not such an issue now because of winter time, but all that drainage that's getting caught in his hair, it's always good to pull that off, because in the summertime it catches flies and stuff like that, and it's an attractant.
Yeah, that open wound. That's why that green clay is so nice in the summertime. That really a fly deterrent. I've used it on some horses that were really, for whatever reason, just inundated with flies, and you put that as a kind of a topical, shake it on over their back and their neck and their ears, and it's amazing how it cuts the population of flies and then bother them like that. Kind of like some people are prone to get mosquito bites, and other people can be in a swarm of them and doesn't bother them.
Yeah. I see there's some proud flesh in there too.
Yeah, a little bit of proud flesh. That's that whitish stuff.
Yeah, let me try it.
But if you get the, yeah, it's really
right
kind
in the center. It looks fatty almost.
Yeah, it's not pink, but it's bleeding around it, and that's what you want to do, is have that healing out from underneath of it. That can turn into some scar tissue, but this is pretty darn good. It's almost like what we're doing is basically debriding this wound with a water jet. Cleaning it up and debriding at the same time.
There you go.
There's a little bit gone. This was a trick.
There you go. Nice and there's some blood going there.
Yeah.
Good circulation.
A vet told us to do this one time. We had a deep cut. And she said, you know, the best thing you can do is just irrigate this thing, because it was a bad one, a couple of times, 2-3 times a day. And slowly that thing will heal up from the bottom down. Don't worry about the proud flesh. There's not enough there to worry about. But if you can do this, just well water, and let it heal on its own. You're going to keep going backwards every time you spray it, because you're going to debride, and then you're going to allow that blood and the tissue around that to heal. And she said, you'd be surprised how bad a looking scar you would think was going to be there. Turns out to be no scar at all. And we were amazed. We have used this trick now for, oh my God, I don't know, decades, 30 years probably. We've been doing this. I remember my dad did this one time on that mare that we're talking about with the vet, and I think he doctored her for nearly 60 days, and when it was done, you couldn't tell she even had a cut.
Well, we even had a mare a couple years ago that had a big cut on the joint right there.
Right down here on the stipe?
Yeah. And it was right on the joint, and she came in on 3 legs, and we took care of her for a month, and all you could see after that was just a small little line. Not much more than that.
Hair was disrupted at the scar.
Yeah.
And that's a hard spot because they move and they articulate. That's like you getting a cut on the inside of your elbow.
Right.
On the inside of the back side of your knee. This is a whole lot better weather to do this in than below zero. Which we've had to do that. We've had to take them inside a
shed.
A shop or a shed so we could work. You have horses long enough, or enough of them, this stuff happens. It's not the end of the world, but it's dang sure nothing you ever want. And believe it or not, if you take a horse that's kind of a little bit, standoffish, doesn't like people, or got some fear of them, and you have something like this happen, and their demeanor will change dramatically, and they can be some of the sweetest horses you'll ever deal with, because they've just gotten used to you handling them and taking care of them, and you know, they're smart enough. They know that this is something that's for their own good. I'm just about to the point where there's that 2 little flaps just kind of right there a little bit, and then this big one. I'd like to pull them off, and if you can see the color of them. They're kind of that orangish look. I think that's some of the cascade effect of a wound heal. That's your prothrombin, thromboplastin, all of the things in your blood that causes clotting. And it's kind of sticky. And that's where I'm having a little difficulty getting that off. We'll try to pull that off in a bit.
Now that we see that cut more, it looks almost exactly like a triangular head.
Yep.
On the top of a fence post.
Yep. Yeah, it sure does. All right, let's pull him ahead a little bit. Let me see if I can
Want me to shut the water off?
get out of the water. Always nice to reassure him a little bit. And then, ooh, big boy. Ooh, big boy. Yeah, I know. And this is probably the worst thing. This is just pulling on that. You're having a hold of it. Pulling that off of there has got to hurt. I think he's got the most issue with. There we go. There we go. That helps. And don't be afraid to get in here and. Yeah, I know.
That doesn't feel good.
That does not feel good at all. There we go. Good, man.
Plenty of blood though. That's good.
Yep. Yeah, and I want to easy. I just want to be easy with him. Grab this top piece. Pull that off of there. This is looking really good. I'm trying to be careful not to, pet him with that hand. And I mean, this is easy, good boy.
He's not even trying to strike or anything. He's
No.
It's just hurting.
It's just hurting. He's just picking his leg
Yeah.
up because it hurts. Easy, big boy. I can hear him chewing.
Yep.
Easy, big boy. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's all right. He might, after a while, get tired of using this and say, you know what? You've had enough.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. All right, let's go ahead. I think that looks pretty good.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Let's go ahead.
I've already pulled out the clay, but you'll see we got med kit. And in here we got a bunch of goodies and brushes and gauze and stuff like that, and needles, syringes, things that you can always use on the animals. I'm not gonna be able to do this one-handed, but yeah, we got plenty of other stuff inside here. We always have things available. Look at this, like little picks to try and. These are needles actually for sutures and little tiny things that we can always be using to help the critters out. But today, got the green clay.
Trying to be somewhat efficient with this. Good. Not wasting a lot. My hands are wet, and it's just going to cake on my hands. Ooh, kid. Ooh, kid. Ooh, big boy. Ooh, big boy. Shot there. How's it look here? You know what? They don't think I can do much better than that. Here, just a little spot just to cover that. We're going to leave it. And we'll give him a little bit more time. We'll do this again, giving him some oats to reinforce that this is what we're standing here for. Like handing one of these boys a well done, not well done as far as gray, but a well done steak. Mushrooms, tipper, Galen.
Horse steak in case you don't pull through.
Horse steak. Well, what we've got is now just time, and with the help of Braden and Kalen, this makes this job a whole lot easier than it does by yourself. But there's sometimes you just have to do it by yourself. And we've been 4 days or so since we first noticed him, and I think I want to give him the shot that day. I was by myself, but you just have to do what you got to do, and there's not much more. It'll be the same old thing here. Cleaning him up every time we come by him, and then give him a chance to heal. So we probably won't show you much until we happen to think of it when it's healed up. I'm going to show you a before and after. All right, you guys, thanks a lot.